So as we've already said, there's slower than normal breathing, and that is used for calming ourselves. Normal breathing is what we're shooting for, so that we're not practicing controlling our breath during the day. We've done the practice during practice times, and now we're just breathing more fully and regularly, normally. Faster than normal breathing allows you to open the sympathetic nervous system and go into places that you ordinarily you would not go into, because it's very activating. And a lot of our trauma happened during sympathetic system activation. But we're going to use the faster than normal breathing to release the traumas in a very specific way. And we'll become experts at when to use slower, normal, or faster than normal breathing. Now, when we do a formal session, see, we're breathing all the time, but what we call breath work is when we set aside a specific time to really focus on how we breathe and how we can change our breath to free ourselves. And so a normal breath work session has 3 stages: a beginning, a middle, and an end. So whether you're doing this with yourself or with another person, these are generally the stages that you'll go through. And this is when we are specifically teaching faster than normal breathing, but during this session, there may be times when you do slower than normal breathing also. When you start a session, it takes a little while to get adjusted, to start to relax physically enough and to focus on your breath. That's normal. In fact, a few minutes of just normal breathing may be helpful to glide yourself or your client into relaxing and focusing on the breath. We're teaching people to notice what's happening without judgment. It's the practice of accepting that occurring during the session and is inclusive in the process. So something may come up during breathing and you could think, oh, that's a distraction. I get a tickling, or I cough, or I'm yawning, but actually that's all part of the process. And know that if someone comes to do a breathing session with you, or when you start to do a breathing session for yourself, you may already be in a highly emotional state. What you're teaching people, and it's important for them to know, is that you're going to deepen and connect your breathing, but it's going to be your own pattern. And this may change throughout the session depending on what's being experienced. So generally a session will take 45 minutes to an hour, and there may be more than one cycle that goes on within that session. So once you become comfortable enough to establish a rhythm, we get into the middle portion of the session. Here's where we become aware of the patterns of physical sensations, emotions, and thoughts. And there may be activating of suppressed energy. This may be slow and gentle, or it may be sudden and powerful. It's important, no matter what happens, that you stay with the breath. There may be a physical sensation that is painful, like, oh, my sore knee. Well, I breathe with it, and I may release things from that sore knee that have never been released before. Emotions may come up that are quite unexpected. You may start to feel annoyed, for example, that you're not getting what you want, or it's too cold, or it's too hot, but breathe with that sense of annoyance. There's something in there. There's a message from your emotional body. Thoughts will arise, and some of them quite extraneous. Don't get in a battle trying to eliminate all your thoughts, or that will just heighten the sense of struggle. As thoughts come up, notice them and continue to breathe. If something is very important, a memory from the past or a theme, you'll know it. And you'll have an opportunity to breathe energy into it. As you continue to breathe, this can build up a sense of tension in the body with increasingly strong emotions. That may happen, doesn't always, but it can happen. You begin to expand awareness into what has not been accessible to the conscious mind. It's important that you stay with the breath during this, because the mind may not have a grasp on the significance of what's occurring. It doesn't make sense to the mind. Breathing through any fear that comes up is the secret. It may look like resistance, but behind resistance is always some fear. And that is the really important time for us to stay with our breath rather than let fear shut us down. Things can happen on the physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual levels, and there's no predicting what exactly is going to happen in a session. That's why, even though we have an intention about what we want, we have to let go and go with what actually happens. So being able to be a loving observer will put you in the driver's seat of the most useful and entertaining show on earth. And it's happening right inside of you. As long as you're not getting contracted in fear and blocking it, you will see, release, experience, and feel the joy of actually directing your life or going with the flow of your life rather than resisting it. So there are no hard and fast rules about what to do with every occurrence. We couldn't write a book big enough to say what to do with all of the things that could possibly happen in a breathwork session. That's why it's intuition training and staying with our own breath, which helps us be an excellent breath worker for ourselves and others. So the beginning is getting comfortable and getting a rhythm going. The middle is the activating part. And this can be very dramatic or very subtle. Don't get in judgment about it. It's important that you accept whatever happens. So there's a beginning and a buildup of energy and a release. And then we come to the end of the session, which is about integration. We come to a resting place, a reorienting and establishing a new balance or grounding. We come to acceptance of a turning point or doing something differently in life, accepting it differently, and incorporating what's taken place during the session. This may be changing our mind, our posture, our stance in life, or drawing different conclusions about ourselves. But this is the overall point that I make in all breathwork training and in every breathwork session, is that it's about going for joy. It's not about looking for bad things or traumas. If bad things or traumas gets in the way of our going for joy, well, we'll deal with it. But we don't set out looking for bad things. We set out going for the sense of aliveness and joy for doing nothing other of earthly value than breathing.